Morning, everybody. What would you think if, while you were in your high school biology class, the police came in and arrested your teacher for teaching something illegal? Well, that's what happened to John Scopes in July of 1925 in Dayton, Tennessee. But what was Scopes' crime? Stay tuned. In 1859, Charles Darwin published The Origin of Species, and many people read that to say that monkeys were our ancestors, and cartoons like this showing Darwin's head on a monkey's body were common. Another part of the backstory is during World War I, Congress passed these two laws which limited speech, and many people thought these were violations of the First Amendment. So in 1920, 2 years after the war, the ACLU and other organizations was founded for the express purpose of protecting the First Amendment, the absolute right of freedom of speech. Well, 1925, Tennessee passes the Butler Act, which prohibited the teaching of evolution in the schools. The problem was that the approved textbook by the state included a chapter on evolution. And here's a page from that textbook. So teachers were teaching things in an approved book that were illegal. Well, in Dayton, Tennessee, the town fathers thought it would be good to get some publicity for their town. And a sensational trial would be just a ticket to bring people to Dayton. So they came to John Scopes, pictured here, and asked him if he'd be willing to be arrested so they could have a trial testing the constitutionality of the Butler Act. And he said, sure. So he did, and the trial started. Here's the judge. The judge did not want it to be a trial about the Bible. He wanted it to be about the Butler Act, and did Scopes break the law? And as each side was getting ready with their lawyers, the judge would not let scientists testify. But the trial became about the Bible sooner or later. On the left, Clarence Darrow, agnostic, big city lawyer from Chicago, representing Scopes. On the right, William Jennings Bryan, three-time candidate for president, devout Presbyterian, working on behalf of the state of Tennessee. People from all over the world came to this trial, including H.L. Mencken from Baltimore, pictured here. Very cynical, very satirical, and he's the fellow that coined the phrase the monkey trial, which is how most people think of the trial today. The big media outlets made sure it was on the radio. Notice the microphone in the middle. They actually rearranged the courtroom so it could be on the radio. And people from all over came to the trial not only to see it, but to make a point. So here you see people who are against evolution with their books and pamphlets. You also had cartoonists there. This cartoon shows monkeys voting not to be related to humans. So there was sort of a carnival atmosphere at the trial. It was super hot. Eventually they moved the trial outside. Notice these guys are still wearing long sleeves. And thousands of people could witness the trial. So after a few days, Darrow put Bryan on the stand, partly to ridicule him, I think. And he asked him questions about the literal meaning of some verses of the Bible. And the judge was tired of this. He did not let Bryan question Darrow. And he said, hey, we're done. Scopes is guilty. And everybody go home. So that's what happened. A few days later, Bryan died. In his sleep, he was 65. I think he was worn out, not just from the trial, but from life. A few weeks later, the Tennessee Supreme Court overturns the verdict. Scopes is not retried, and he's let off. Here's the courthouse in Dayton. You can visit it. I guess it's quite a tourist place for Dayton people. It was also a movie called Inherit the Wind. Spencer Tracy, and you could see Harry Morgan as the judge, Frederick March as Bryan. And as I think about the story, I think about the Galileo story. Remember, Galileo got in trouble because he said the Bible is not a science book. And that was part of the issue, wasn't it, for the Scopes trial?